Moving on to a lightweight bout between 9-1 Roosevelt Roberts and Brock Weaver, who's 15-4. Roosevelt Roberts, very long guy, man, very long, and very smooth boxing, very smooth with his hands. He's good on the ground. You saw him pick up a unanimous decision win over Thomas Gifford, and I mean, really just uh, he Roosevelt Roberts is, it's hard to explain his fighting style a little bit. Like, okay, he he's almost too patient. Like one of the things that when I watch Roosevelt Roberts fights, he'll like wait on things. Like when he fought Vince Pichel and he lost a decision in that fight, one of the problems was is that he was just letting Pichel go first. And when he does that against some like lower level competition, like you get away with it a little bit more because you can make up the ground. But against a guy like Pichel who's going to keep the pace on you and just keep that shit up, you know what I mean? Like that doesn't, you can't really get away with that. And I think that's, if there's a flaw to be pointed out in Roosevelt Roberts' game, because he's very technically sound. He's very smooth. He's got lightning fast hand. He's got good kicks and he's got a good ground game. I mean, he's very well rounded. One of the things that he can struggle with, like I said, he just sometimes he'll let guys go first. And like I said, when he goes first, he's able to make up ground. But against a guy like Pichel, who's like constant pressure and just like keeping it pouring on you, it's difficult, right? I really think that you got to be calculated about it, and you can't get too wild. But I really think that if Roosevelt Roberts fought more aggressively, he would draw more out of his opponents and he would draw these openings and he'd be able to find finishes a little bit easier. I think he's got a ton of talent. Like I said, he's very technically sound and his hands are so fucking fast. But I think that if he added just a little bit of aggression to his game, when he starts landing, what do guys want to do when they're getting landed on? They're going to want to fire back. They're going to cover up. They're going to want to stay safe, but they're also going to want to fire back and land it on you. And when you draw that out of people, that's when he can really start letting stuff shine, when he's like, slipping counters and then countering back on his own. I think that if you saw him just get a little bit more, turn it up a little bit more, you'd see him pick up more finishes, especially at like the UFC level. I think he needs to do that because he's going to run into guys like Brock Weaver who over the course of the fight are just going to keep coming and are going to want to hang out in the pocket and are just going to want to keep putting a pace on you. You know what I mean? So this is a really interesting matchup, man, because I think that if you look at any one specific area, except maybe like dirty boxing, like close in the clinch, just because Weaver's got he's a little bit more compact, he might have an advantage there. But if you look at like just general striking and just general, I think Roosevelt Roberts has an advantage everywhere in this fight. But if Brock Weaver fights him super aggressive, and if Roosevelt isn't putting out the volume himself to kind of match Brock, you might see Roosevelt get down in this fight, get down rounds in this fight. I think it's going to be hard for Brock to put Roosevelt away because of his length and stuff. But if you might see Brock Weaver just fight a grindy, gritty type of fight and wear on Roosevelt Roberts. All that being said, I'm expecting him to kind of look at like what happened against Pichel and like realize that you're successful when you're going first, and like you're gonna make guys make mistakes when you're putting like a calculated pressure on them. Like if you apply that to the Brock Weaver fight, if he does that, if he applies that mentality in like that game, I think that you'll see the best Roosevelt Roberts we've seen. I think you'll see him get a finish over Brock Weaver. But if he lets Weaver put a pace on him, and he's not like maintaining his distance and just keeping volume in his face and stuff and making Weaver make mistakes, if he's letting him control the pace of the fight, push things up against the cage once in a while, because Weaver's, like I said, a strong guy. You don't want to be having your back on the cage when he's going to be trying to take you down and make this a gritty fight and land shots in the clinch. So I'm going Roberts. I think Roberts is going to – I think you're going to see him come out and you're going to see like – you're going to see him kind of match the pace and the intensity, and this is going to – I think that he'll get a finish in this fight. I do think it's a very good fight. I think it could go either way. Like I said, keys for Weaver, I think he has to make it kind of gritty and wear on him over the course of the fight. And key for Roberts is just, man, maintain your distance. Keep calculated pressure on him. Keep the jab out in his face. Keep hitting him with leg kicks. Keep hitting him open him up. I think Roberts, like I said, has an advantage everywhere. It's just a matter of whether he puts it all together.